Hello, my name is Andrew Lovett, and I'm going to give you a brief walkthrough of my individual behavior change project. After taking the self-assessment quiz, I scored between a 15 and a 20 on each individual section, which means I'm relatively healthy. However, my lowest score was a 16, and it was in the section of physical health. So I naturally had to take this into account in deciding which behavior I wanted to change. Ultimately, I decided that I wanted to change the number of times that I visited the gym weekly, and I wanted to change the number of hours that I practice my instrument weekly. The reason for this is that I am a music education major, so my ultimate goal in life is to be an effective music teacher. This means that I have to know my craft very well. I have to be an example for my students. I have to demonstrate what I want them to demonstrate, the proper habits of a successful musician. A successful musician is someone who practices regularly and is physically healthy. The only factors that were holding me back from doing this was time management, um, procrastination, and motivation. I tend to sometimes spend too much time with my friends. I have trouble saying no to when someone wants to hang out. Procrastinating on assignments, this hurts me because by the time I get to my what would be usually my leisurely time or my time where I have to visit the gym or visit the practice room, I'm doing assignments that have been assigned long ago. Also, the general lack of motivation, which is something I think plagues a lot of college students. Um, My motivation for doing this, like I said earlier, was that I'm a music teacher. I want to be good at my craft. But also that this is my last year of college. I feel like if there's any time to make a change, this is it. I want to leave college a better musician and a healthier person than when I came in. I'm only going to get busier from now. If I get out of here and I'm able to find a band director job or I go into a master's degree, there's only going to be more on my plate. I have to be able to manage my time effectively now if I want to be able to do it in the future. Um, my consequences for if I fail this is that if I fail and have to try again, this is only going to become more difficult each time I do it. With all that in mind, I created my SMART goal, the S for specific. I decided that by October 1st, I wanted to exercise once a week and practice 6 hours a week. By November 1st, I wanted to practice twice a week and practice 8 hours a week. By November 15th, I wanted to exercise 3 times a week and practice 10 hours a week. The M, measurable. My variables here are the hours that I practice and the number of times that I visit the gym a week. Attainable. This is all a matter of my own personal time management. I have the resources to do all these things. The music building and the practice rooms are open till 12, and the gym at UNCG is open until 11. So I simply have to manage my time around their hours. It's realistic because, like I said earlier, I have all the resources to do it, and it's timely because I have a time frame for each of these goals. Um, I'll show you here my growth. So these are the number of times that I visited the gym weekly. The first week that I started this project, I visited it once. The next week was twice, then 3 times, and you can see that I was able to grow up until around mid-October, and then I started to decline a bit. I believe this is due to end of the semester work. I had lots of projects that were due, and I had to examine my priorities. Um, However, luckily I was able to come up a bit, but if we scroll down just a little bit more, we can see that I was a little more successful with my practice hours. I started out practicing 4 hours a week, and if you measure the growth here, I steadily grew up until just a couple of weeks ago, November 10th. And I started to come down a bit because, as with visiting the gym. I got very busy. I had lots of things to do, so naturally, um, my consistency wasn't there. Although I wasn't quite consistent with growth for both of these things, I think I did a pretty good job of improvement. I at least demonstrated to myself that I'm able to accomplish these goals. So, in the end, the last three questions, um, to one extent, is health behavior a personal choice? I feel that changing your behavior is almost completely a personal choice, pretty much outside of your environment and your resources. If you choose something that's realistic to you, then it's all on you. For me personally, this was completely a matter of personal choice. Um, I have the ability to practice and I have the ability to work out pretty much whenever I want. I don't have to wait on anybody. I don't have to pay for anything. I just have to do it. I have to plan ahead to do it. And I have to be consistent to do that. If I wanted to change a behavior that was a little more outlandish, such as, I don't know, water skiing or piloting a plane, that's something that is kind of outside my grasp. I couldn't just do those things. And I think that applies to everybody else too. What factors influence and affect behavior change? Like I said earlier, environment, resources, and also motivation. You can't really do anything that you don't want to do. You have to really want something. Um, that's why I chose the goals that I had. Um, Practicing is very important to me. Being a good musician is very important to me. My health is very important to me. That's why I chose them. It didn't feel like homework working on these things. It felt like I was bettering myself. I felt better when I did these things. I felt better about myself when I did these things. So the most important factor, I think, is motivation. And then, of course, environment and resources, because you have to be realistic with yourself. Lastly, how can you set goals and use self-management skills? Planning. That's what I think is the most important thing, and that's what I think is my personal weakness. Um, for some people, I feel like planning is a little easier. I know a lot of people who they don't like to do things if they don't have a plan. People like me who like to go out on a whim and just go with the flow, this can be a little harder. Um, for me, writing helped. It helped when I kept sticky notes. If you want to look here on my wall, I have lots and lots of sticky notes of things that I'm supposed to do, things that I'm not supposed to forget, goals that I have, places I have to be, all those things. Um, so I pretty much think you have to know yourself and figure out what works for you. Well, thank you for your time, and I hope you found my video helpful.